Hi everyone, I'm Delilah aka ASSASSINA-san. Welcome back to my channel, where today I'm doing something completely different from anything else on my channel. Today we are going to talk about what it's like to play my PlayStation 5 after playing it for 3 months. I know it's easy when you first get a console to be super hype and look through it from rose-colored glasses, but I think after 3 months I'm able to really tease out what works and what doesn't. I'm going to be talking about my personal experience, how it looks in my media setup, what accessories I use and why, the functionality of the UI, media captures, aka screenshots, videos, trophies, the game base, what it's like to play with friends, and a brief summary of the games that I've played on the PS5, and how they offer a new gen experience or lack thereof. And more importantly, I'm also going to talk about the analog drift because yes, I have been a victim to this. I will also love to hear your thoughts if you were lucky enough to get a PS5. Everyone's experience is going to be different. Maybe there's some things that I didn't mention in this video that would be helpful for people to know, so put in a comment and I'll pin it. Similarly, if I say something that there's a fix to or something's incorrect, same thing, I'll pin it so that people know the fix and can move forward accordingly with their PS5. Okay, let's start with how it looks. It's a behemoth. It is literally the size of my cat. You guys have seen videos of how big it is, comparisons. I don't need to get too into it, but it is one of the biggest pieces in my game room. But it's really narrow, so it's easy for a little person like me to be able to plug things in the back of it, which is really convenient because I'm constantly doing that when I'm plugging it in to my capture card and then plugging it out and putting it in my Xbox Series X. So I'm kind of back there a lot, and it's much easier for someone of my size to get around a narrow console, and I have it standing vertically. I don't know anyone that has it horizontal, but the functionality of it vertically is more convenient for me to plug things in and out, which I do quite often because of capture cards and things like that. It's also really handy that there's a USB and a USB-C port in the front of the console, which comes in handy for me when it comes to putting my screenshots on USB stick so that I can then transfer it online. In addition to the USB in the front, there's also two in the back, so I can plug in several things, like besides my controller, I can plug in my ring light or something else. The console itself is very futuristic looking. It has a different aesthetic completely. It's like white and blue, which is still PlayStation, but I'm used to the black consoles, which I prefer and looks better in my media setup because most of my furniture in my game room is black, and I feel like it blends in a lot better. This thing sticks out like a sore thumb. You walk into my game room and it's the first thing you see. But what's really cool about it is that you can remove the plates pretty easily, and I imagine that PlayStation is going to release custom or limited edition plates so that if you want to change your console to be black or another color, or maybe a cool God of War or Last of Us or Horizon Zero Dawn edition PlayStation, you have that option without having to buy a whole new console. Because we all know when certain limited edition consoles came out, we then sold our old console and then bought a new one, and it's actually really expensive to do that. I never fell into that rabbit hole, but I do know people who bought so many PS4s for the limited editions. I also really like that on the inside of the plate, it has very tiny patterns of the buttons embroidered in there, like the triangle, the square, the circle, the X, or cross. And those symbols are also embroidered on the DualShock, and also some of the walls in Astro's Playroom, which is that PS5 tech demo for the DualSense Controller. That's actually a really good game, and we'll talk about it. I should have made it clear in the beginning that I have the disc version, but I got the discless version for my partner, and that one is definitely a lot slimmer and nicer looking, but they're both really, really big. I am not ready to let go of physical media, which is why I got the disc version, and it's pretty nice to pop in my PS4 backlog discs. So let's talk about the DualSense Controller. Initially, it felt very heavy. The first night, I played Astro's Playroom, Spiderman Miles Morales, and Demon's Souls all on the same night, so I pulled the all-nighter, and at the end of the day, I had an extreme pain in this part of my hand, and I was like, what the heck? But I've had long gaming sessions after that, and I haven't had any pain, so I'm guessing there was like a special muscle that the DualSense built up in my hand that is now fully formed. I don't know. It is heavier than most controllers, including the DualShock 4, but that's because there's so much technology in there, and that technology is really apparent with a game like Astro's Playroom, with the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers. You guys have heard all the mumbo jumbo about it, but it's real. When you play Astro's Playroom, if you ever play it, you'll understand why it's so heavy and why there's so much technology in it, and how those words that I said, haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, aren't just mumbo jumbo. They're actually, you could actually feel that technology when you're playing that game. Unfortunately, right now, Astro's Playroom is the only game that I've played that utilizes the DualSense features, the adaptive triggers, the haptic feedback effectively in a way that feels meaningful to the game. I'm curious to see how it's adapted to other games like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn. I think it might also be used effectively in Sackboy Big Adventure, but I haven't played that game, so if you have, please let me know your experience with how the DualSense technology adapts to that specific game. That same night that I pulled an all-nighter playing all those games that released on the PS5 at launch, my controller died pretty fast. And that's mostly because of Astro's Playroom, but I have a solution. So let's talk about another accessory, the solution to this problem, which is the official Sony DualSense charging dock. It's very slim. It can fit right on your desk or your media center right next to your PS5, and it can charge up to 2 controllers at a time. So one convenience factors of using the charging dock, of course, is that I don't need to keep my PlayStation asleep in order to charge my controller overnight. It just charges it as soon as I put it on. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to play some games again, it's ready to go. Another convenience factor is that it gives me extra USB space. Now I'm gonna talk about this analog drift. No, not the Joy-Con drift, but it's kind of like it a little bit. So I had this issue only when playing Demon's Souls, and this only happened on my second playthrough of Demon's Souls when I was going for the platinum. What basically happened is while I was running with my character, all of a sudden my character would just slow down out of nowhere, and I have no idea why. I started to explore the troubleshoot option on the PlayStation website, which involves resetting your controller completely, but because I was already at the end of that playthrough and I didn't have that issue with any other game, I kind of just gave up on it. But I really don't know how effective that troubleshoot option is, so if you know, let me know in the comments. Maybe I should have explored this troubleshoot option, because when I booted up Demon's Souls again, the issue happened almost immediately where I was running and then my character would slow down out of nowhere. It was really annoying, especially for a game like that. So yeah, this issue is very real for some people. It doesn't seem to be consistent with all games though. Like I've had 0 games that have had that issue since then. I don't really understand it. I really hope that Sony fixes the analog stick problem. I don't know what the fix is, but whatever it is, please do it, and do it quickly so that you don't get sued. So let's talk about the PlayStation camera. I haven't used it. I haven't had a need to use it. I think it's good for people who stream natively through the PS5, but I use OBS and another camera that I think is better, because I only plugged in the PS camera the first day I got it, and it looked fine, but not as good as the camera that I'm using right now and that I typically use on my streams and recordings. The fact that I haven't had a use for it is an issue, but the reason why I got it is because I wanted to make sure that if there were any motion controlled games or VR games that were coming up that required a camera, I wanted to have it available. And now the PSVR 2 or whatever they're calling it has been officially announced, but we don't know when it'll release. It'll probably be several years from now or a year from now. And then I tried to plug it in to test it just so I can talk about it a little bit, at least the quality of it. And when I plugged it into my USB, it just didn't recognize the camera. So I don't know if that's a known issue with the camera or if it's just something that I did wrong, but I'll have more on that and I'll make sure to put it in the comments if I gather more information. The other accessory that I wanted to talk about that released with the PlayStation 5 is the Sony Pulse 3D headset. I did not get this, mostly because I'm perfectly satisfied with my HyperX, and I also know that the earpiece of those headsets tend to break easily, hopefully not this new one. And I also heard that third-party headsets would be releasing soon after that have that 3D audio. I don't know of any headsets right now that have the 3D audio and are compatible with the PS5, but hopefully we'll get some soon. And if there are some available now that I'm just not aware of, please let me know in the comments. Unfortunately, Bluetooth headsets at this time are not compatible with the PlayStation 5, but if you wanted to use a wireless headset, I think you can purchase a Bluetooth audio USB adapter and plug that into the console. So there is a bit of an issue. When I plug in my HyperX headset through the jack on the DualSense, I'm able to hear my friends and the game, but they're not able to hear me except through the DualSense microphone itself. It doesn't pick up my audio from the headset. The only way that I'm able to hear the game and that my friends are able to hear the audio is if I plug it directly into one of the USB ports. Otherwise, if you use the audio jack on the DualSense, you'll be able to hear everything, but you'll only be picked up through the controller, which is probably really annoying to your friends because it's probably picking up everything else in the background. What's really handy is the DualSense has a mute button, which works not only for the controller audio that's picking your voice up, but also for the audio coming from your headset if you have it plugged directly into the PS5. The scary part about it is when Destruction AllStars first launched, your DualSense would automatically enable your voice into the lobby, which was kind of scary, but they have fixed it. The DualSense picking up your microphone audio wouldn't have been enabled automatically if you actually went into the settings and disabled that. But most people didn't do that because the default option is for the sound to automatically be enabled to the DualSense. Let me know in the comments what headsets you guys use for your PS5. I want to know the sound experience, but more importantly, the comfortability after those long gaming sessions. Alright, I have a lot to say about the UI, user interface. It definitely looks clean and feels new. It's very different from the PS4. It's very different from the PS3. It feels next gen, which I can't say the same about the Xbox Series X, but I'll do another video for that one. But because it's so new, there's so much to get used to. Navigating it was kind of difficult at first, and it took a lot of getting used to. In fact, 3 months later, I'm still not completely used to it. So we're gonna dive into what it's like to navigate trophies, what it's like to get into the game base, aka what it's like to play with friends, and also what it's like to shut down the console. So let's talk about how the game displays. Each game has its own theme. So on the PlayStation 4, you were able to either download, purchase, or earn dynamic or still themes, and that would be your theme for the entire console UI. On the PlayStation 5, each game has its own theme, so when you scroll over to Miles Morales, you'll hear different music. There'll be Miles in the background, and then you scroll over to Demon Souls, the music changes to Demon Souls music, and you see your character in the background, so on and so forth. As of now, all my old PlayStation 4 themes that I've earned either from Platinum Games or from pre-order bonuses, because I never actually purchased one, are kind of just there, and I have no use for them on my PS5. But I do think that this UI looks much cleaner. I'm definitely gonna miss being rewarded for Platinum Games and getting a code for a theme. So I really like how each game has its own theme. It gets me immersed into it before I even launch the game. But let's talk about trophies, which is really only applicable to us trophy hunters, but as a trophy hunter myself, it's very important that I'm able to navigate my trophies effectively. And the PS5 introduced a whole new trophy system. There's like this trophy card system. It's way less useful than I thought it would be. It was extremely useful for Astro's Playroom because you kind of just go into the card where you have trophy progress in, and it brings you right into that part of the game that you need to continue to get those trophies. But I haven't found much use for it in other games. Sometimes while I'm playing a game and I click the PlayStation home button to view my trophies and my progress, it'll show me trophies that I'm not really working on but that I maybe have progress towards. So it was kind of inconvenient to have to scroll over to that trophy that I'm working on to see my progress, or if I simply wanted to look at the list of trophies in the game to refresh my memory about it. I wish that they would have had the first card in that menu be view all trophies. That way I don't have to go into the PS menu and then go into my trophies in order to view all of my trophies. The fastest way to view your trophies at this time if you're in a game is to double tap the PlayStation button, and then it'll bring you to the home screen, and then you have to go over to your icon and then scroll down to trophies, and then you can see your entire trophy list. Kind of a lot of steps. So having that view all trophies as the first trophy card could have alleviated that issue and created less steps to view all of my trophies instead of just the progression cards. Another option to make accessing all your trophies a lot easier is to give the option to put your trophies as an icon in the control center, which is pretty customizable at this point. And I'll get into more about that later. So just to summarize that a bit, because I know it's a lot. 2 ways to get to your trophies right now. is one, double tap the PlayStation Home button and then you can scroll over to your icon and then scroll down to trophies. Or you can hold down the PlayStation button for 2 seconds and move over to the trophy section of the game that you're playing. 2 fixes that I would like to see PlayStation implement to make accessing your trophies a lot more convenient and quicker and easier is 1, to add the first trophy card to be view all trophies, and 2, to add the option to the control center. So now let's move on to talking a little bit more about the control center, which also includes how to shut down the console, which takes a lot more steps than I've been used to the past, 10 years? With the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. So the control center is pretty customizable. You can remove things like network or music that you don't really use and just keep checkmark the things that you use consistently. This is really handy, but I wish there were more customizable options to add to the control center, like the trophy list. Unfortunately, I've been used to shutting down my console by holding down the PlayStation button and clicking rest or shut down, but now with the PS5, I have to press the PS Home and then go to the control center and then scroll all the way to the right to shut down my console. Perhaps holding down the PlayStation Home could have also been customizable where you can choose what it does. The only thing that holding the PlayStation button does right now is when you're in a game and you hold it down, it brings up the news. Maybe that could have been customizable. Maybe I could have chosen what holding down the PlayStation button does when I'm in a game. Maybe I could have chosen for it to shut down so that I don't have to go to my control center and then scroll all the way to the right in order to shut my console down. Or maybe I could have added trophies. But yeah, pro tip, double tap the PlayStation Home button if you want to get to your home screen, because if you just tap it once, then it brings you to your trophy cards. So let's talk about the game base, aka your friends list or navigating game parties. Getting to the friends list is also more steps because you have to go to the control center and then scroll over to the game base. It's not that serious. I know it's 2 buttons, but when you're used to doing things for so many years, it feels like it takes extra steps than it needs to, which is why I'm talking about the UI so much. What is more convenient is that you're able to get to parties that you've previously been in because it'll show up at the top of the list. So if there's a group of friends that you typically play with all the time, you'll be able to access those parties easier than ever. But still having that extra step to get there by going to the control center and then going to the game base is a little more inconvenient than from what I remember on the PlayStation 4. In the game base, what you can view is your friend's real name, if you've requested it, what they're playing, and if they're playing on a PS4 or PS5. You can no longer see their trophy level. You can't even see their trophy rank, which is a new system that PlayStation introduced before the PlayStation 5 launch. Bronze, silver, gold, etc. The problem is if you have someone's real name, you can't also see their PSN ID, which makes things really difficult in terms of inviting people to parties. It's kind of inconvenient if you have someone's real name because the game base doesn't show the person's PSN name unless you only have their PSN name and not their real name, which is kind of inconvenient for inviting people to parties, especially when you have a lot of friends. What's even weirder about the real name versus PSN system is that if you sort your friends from A to Z and your friend's real name starts with a B, but their PSN starts with a T, they'll show up in the T section with their real name as a B. So as I'm scrolling down the list, I'll see like a bunch of A's and then a T and then a bunch of B's and then a C because the person's real name is a different letter than their PSN name, but it's arranging it according to their PSN name, but it doesn't show you their PSN name. I think the easy fix to that is just include both the real name and the PSN name like you used to on the PS4 where you can see both. It's really helpful for me to have real names of my friends so that I know who they are because sometimes their PSN names are not related to their real name at all and I can't remember who they are unless I have their real name. Actually, now that I think about it, not only would I want holding down the PlayStation to give me the option to shut down, but I also wouldn't mind to have the option to also include my friends list or game base there. But more importantly, I just want to be able to see my friends' real names and their PSN names, not just their real names, so that when I arrange it from A to Z, it's actually from A to Z. And then inviting them to parties could be be a lot easier because I know both their real name and their PSN name. But I would also like to see people's trophy levels or their trophy rank at least. I think it looks cool. Alright, so let's talk about what it's like to access the PlayStation Store and the PlayStation Library. It's super convenient. This is probably one of the most convenient things about the PlayStation 5. It's right available at the main UI. You don't need to wait for an application to load. You just kind of scroll over to the PlayStation Store or to your PlayStation Library because it's in their own section, kind of like how the games are. This once again makes everything look clean and feel super convenient. Even the media apps like Disney Plus, YouTube, Twitch are in its own section. It's not in the same place as your games. It's almost its own tab. You just press R2 to scroll over to media, and then you have access to all of your applications that are related to video and media and not related to your video games, which is a lot cleaner than the folder system that we had. Because on the PS4, you can have your YouTube app right next to the game that you've played last, and it was kind of a mess. It's really, really clean to have all your media in its own section and all of your game stuff in its own section. And when you first boot up your PlayStation 5, it'll always be your games and you just press R2 to go to your media. I thought that the PlayStation 4 folder system would make it look cleaner, but it didn't. This is way better. So now let's talk about the media gallery, not the media apps. The media gallery is like your screenshots and your video captures. It's definitely more accessible because everything you need in that gallery is in the same exact menu from the same press of a button. So like the PS4, screenshots and recording has its own button, but this button doesn't just lead you to capturing things, it also leads you to your media gallery, period. You press the capture button with one tap and you choose if you want to capture a screenshot or a video. You can customize it still if you want to hold it down versus tap it versus double tap it, but I just kind of kept it the way it was because it worked pretty well. I just tap the button and I get to choose whether I want a screenshot or a video. The video option lets you capture entire gameplay up to an hour, or you can just do smaller clips from 30 seconds to 30 minutes if you want to. You can customize how long of clips that your system allows you to capture. After you press that button and you scroll to the left of the media, you're able to access your gallery and edit from there. You can even choose a screenshot from one of the videos that you took. In the same menu, you can also edit from there to trim down your videos. Now, if you want to do editing that's more robust, you still have to use the Share Factory application, but I personally just use other software on my computer and just bring over whatever captures I have on the PS5 into the USB stick and then onto my computer. And I do the same with screenshots because we're not able to upload screenshots to Facebook anymore, and that's where I post all of my screenshots. So what I wind up doing is just putting them all on a USB stick and then putting them in my Google Photos and then putting them on whatever social media site I want to. I actually prefer this because when you did upload your screenshots directly to Facebook or Twitter, it would limit how many you can upload. I think to Facebook the limit was 80, whereas now I'm able to put all of them on my USB stick and then move all of them wherever I want to on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. This is somewhat related to trophies, but the system automatically captures your voice, video, and screenshot of when you earned a trophy. This is really cool for those trophies that you worked so hard to get and you really wanted to celebrate, and maybe after you earned it, you were like, yes! And then you have it just automatically recorded. And this is there as a default option, but you could disable this as it can clutter your media gallery very quickly, so I definitely disabled it. But it's a feature that I haven't benefited from yet, but I can see why people would like to keep that on. As of now, the only options you can upload your media is to YouTube or Twitter, no longer Facebook like you could on the PS4. That feature was removed well before the PS5 released. It's just a lot cleaner to put your captures on a USB stick and put it on your computer. You'll have a lot more autonomy over how you arrange things, how you upload things, and how you share things. It is a bit of an extra step. I used to upload things directly to Facebook, but honestly, the quality of the images and maneuvering them in the way I want to share them, and also having the USB and a USB-C port in the front of the console makes this process a lot easier because it's an easy pop in and pop out. Initially, the USB-C side of my USB stick didn't work for uploading captures there. It's like the PlayStation 5 didn't recognize it for some reason, but that's since then been fixed. Initially, my video captures were automatically converted into WebM files, which I personally prefer MP4, but there is an option to change it. So just make sure that if you want MP4 video files that you convert it in your PlayStation before you upload anything. The WebM is just less compatible for the editing software that I use. So you just go to settings, broadcast and capture, and you can enable MP4 files, which I recommend, even though PlayStation 5 recommends WebM for some reason. All right, so I want to talk about managing notifications because this is another convenient factor. It's much easier to delete all your notifications from a PS5. From there, it gives you the option to disable notifications as well. You just select to delete all notifications and they're gone. Whereas I think on the PlayStation 4, you had to delete each one individually. So let's talk about the change in trophy levels, which happened before the PlayStation 5 even released. So basically, I bumped up from a level 20 or 21 to a level 420 with this new trophy level change. I've earned about 10 platinums and played several other games in between, and I've only jumped from 420 to 428, so it doesn't feel like I'm making much progress there. I'm not sure I understand this new trophy ranking, and I'm not sure I like it either, especially considering I've done so much work and have just 8 more points from when the change initially started. The new ranking icon is pretty cool. I have a new cool silver icon next to my name that you can't see in the game base, but if you go all the way into my profile, you can see. But it seems like even that range is very, very large. I have friends that aren't trophy hunters that are at a silver level, and I trophy hunt and have all these platinums and am at a silver level. So I think the range is a little too wide, but whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I can't even see their levels unless I go into their profiles anyway. So let's talk about the PS5 games that I've played so far and my brief thoughts on it. I have more robust reviews on my YouTube channel and also written reviews with God Hates Geeks or on my PlayStation Gaming Creator page blog. So let's talk about Demon's Souls, which is one of the most good-looking games I've played, especially when it comes to lighting. It made Demon's Souls, which is the worst-looking From Software game, look like the best looking From Software game because of all the lighting and textures that they added. The game's already dreadful, but the lighting effects in this game make it even more dreadful because in dark corners and corridors you can't see, so you never know when an enemy's gonna come at you. And it also made the horror-esque elements of the game stand out more, where you had very low lighting, or even in terms of the sound design, which was very good in this game. Also, playing Demon's Souls in 60 frames is very nice. I really hope we can get Bloodborne in 60 frames, because I definitely like to finish up the DLC in 60 frames. That would be great. Another game is Spiderman Miles Morales. This also came out for the PS4. I played it on fidelity mode, and the accuracy of the reflections from the building windows is astounding. I loved it so much. The game overall is a fun, refreshing experience from the original Spider-Man PS4 game. It doesn't feel the same despite being in the same exact setting and having the same kind of skeleton. I really like how different Miles Morales felt from the original Spider-Man game and how much it improved the elements of the original Spider-Man game and enhanced them for the PlayStation 5. And thanks to the Spider-Man PS5 version, where you can transfer your saves and progress over, you earn another platinum without having to do anything, which feels really cheap, and it's probably the cheapest platinum on my list. I do wish Control Ultimate Edition offered this option as well, so that I can go straight into the DLC without having to play the game over again. Not that I mind, but I kind of don't like to play games again so soon after beating it. And of course, I can't do this video without talking about Astro's Playroom, which was literally made for the PlayStation 5 and is the best tech demo I've ever played. It genuinely shows how amazing the technology in the DualSense is. And it brought the amount of joy and spectacle that like the Mario games brought, specifically Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy. And the amount of details in the accessories and the PlayStation controllers in the main hub area when you collect everything in that game are so good. There's so many details. It looks like you actually have those accessories and consoles in front of you. That's how good they look. What's really cool and unique to Astro's Playroom is there's a network speedrun test, which is just speedrunning. And if you have a certain time but a friend on your list beats that time, you'll get a notification for it encouraging you to go back and beat their time. And this can put you down a rabbit hole of staying in the network speed run for a really long time just trying to beat all your friends and be number one. Also, Astro's Playroom is free, it's a tech demo, it's bundled in with the PS5, and it's really, really good. Another free game is Bugsnax, which also came at the launch of the PlayStation 5, and I probably wouldn't have played it if it didn't release free for the PlayStation 5. Unfortunately, although it came out on the PS4, it did not release for free on the PS4. It's a weird but interesting free game with a surprisingly good story. Me and my friends at Dead Cell Media did a podcast, a spoiler cast for it, and it had a lot of good spoiler cast material because there were a lot of twists and turns that were unexpected, and it was very dark and subliminally mature, despite looking like a kid's game that you watch when you're babysitting a toddler or something. However, Bugsnax didn't really showcase any of the high tech in the PS5. It was just a straight up puzzle game with not much visual details or graphical enhancements or anything. It didn't even use the DualSense features that much, at least not noticeably much. So now let's talk about Destruction AllStars, which was another free game given to PlayStation 5 users in February or January, I can't remember. And this is a fun game to play with friends, but it has a lot of network issues. It crashed a bunch of times. I've spent hours trying to properly match a game session with my friends, but sometimes it would start the game session for them but keep me in the queue for a while or bump me back to the main menu. It was really annoying and it was very persistent. I'm hoping that they fixed it by now, but I haven't played since then to be able to tell you an update on that. Also, this game is like a more sporty, cartoony, kind of twisted metal game, which sounds really cool on paper, but maybe they should have just made a twisted metal game. I don't know, probably would have done better, especially considering that now we have a twisted metal show coming out. And for a game that's all about driving and crashing and collisions, the collisions felt very unsatisfying, which sounds weird considering we have a DualSense controller that has haptic feedback. It just didn't feel as satisfying crashing into someone as I wanted it to, and as it should have with the controller technology. One of my bigger issues with the game, besides not being able to play with friends as effectively as I wanted to, is that this is an 8 versus 8 multiplayer mode, and I can only play up to a party of 4, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why not just let me play with 8 of my friends? That would have been a lot more fun than just 4 and then 4 randoms. I can't believe that Destruction AllStars was once going to be a $70 game. That would have been a massive mistake. And even as a free game, I can't recommend playing this right now because there's just too many issues, and the gameplay, as fun as it kind of is, it doesn't justify all of the issues that it has, which is really a shame. But it is fun to play with friends, so if you got it for free, it doesn't really hurt to try it. One of the games I played that was optimized for the PS5 is Maneater, which was also free with PlayStation Plus. This game looks and plays really well on the PS5, and I had a lot of fun. It's not very in-depth, it doesn't have any crazy graphics or crazy storytelling, but damn, did I have a lot of fun. It does get very repetitive though, but if you're looking for a mindless game to play and just have fun in, Maneater's definitely a good choice. I also played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I transferred my PS4 save to my PS5, which was pretty seamless, and it looks amazing on the PS5. Playing an Assassin's Creed games in 60 frames with such a vast open world is really nice, but those games tend to look really nice anyway. I'm having a lot of fun with Assassin's Creed. I haven't beaten it yet. I'm only 50 hours in and I haven't even scratched the surface, so more to come on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I also played Ghost of Tsushima Legends on the PlayStation 5. I did watch my partner play the main campaign on his PlayStation 5 and it looked and played really good. I couldn't imagine that game looking better, and it definitely looks and plays much better on the PS5. But playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends was a lot of fun, and I'm really surprised that this was a free expansion DLC for multiplayer. And I just think that Sucker Punch Games is killing it right now with that game. Alright, it's really important that I talk about PS Plus, the PS Collection, and PS Now, because this is the main competition for Xbox Game Pass, which honestly has no competition right now. That's like the best service ever. So PlayStation Plus offers some good titles. We got some new releases like Bugsnax and Destruction AllStars, and otherwise good third-party titles like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Maneater, and Control Ultimate Edition. Now, Control was available on Game Pass, but then it was brought to PS Plus for free. But we got the Ultimate Edition, which wasn't available on Game Pass, which allows you to play the PS5 version and also gives you the DLC at no extra cost. So this was a huge win for PlayStation Plus, in addition to the free Bugsnax and Destruction AllStars games. And it seems like Sony's going to continue offering free PlayStation 5 games, which is definitely good. The PlayStation Collection is an amazing perk for PlayStation 5 owners that have PlayStation Plus. You get access to all these critical darlings like God of War, which was upscaled for the PS5, and some other titles like Bloodborne and Persona 5 that are really good titles. But I'm really curious why Horizon Zero Dawn's not there, especially considering Horizon Forbidden West is coming out in 2021, I believe. We'll see at the PlayStation Showcase, which hopefully this video will be out before then. Probably not though. But I really want the PlayStation Collection to give me Bloodborne with 60 frames. Please, that would be great. I'm sure they're working on it. PlayStation Now is clearly not as good as Game Pass, considering it doesn't include new launches like Game Pass. Game Pass is going to include Halo Infinite when it comes out. It included Gears of War 5 when it came out. It included The Medium when it released, which wasn't really that great of a game anyway, but you get the point. I think if PlayStation Now included games like God of War Ragnarok or Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, it would probably be Game Pass, but PlayStation Now also doesn't have as much backwards compatibility as Game Pass. Maybe it could, I don't know, because there's a really big PlayStation 2 library that would have a very welcome tone on PlayStation Now if PlayStation actually implemented it, but I guess they don't see a purpose, and honestly for me, I probably wouldn't go back. It's just kind of nice to have the option, you know what I mean? But what's a shame is that there's so many games like Alien Isolation and Nier Automata that I wound up playing on my Xbox Series X because it was available at no extra cost with Game Pass. And I would have loved to earn trophies in these games, but because they are at the $15 price point or more or less on the PlayStation Store and not available for free like it is on Game Pass, I ultimately decided to play it on my Xbox, which is really a shame, and it's really making my trophy hunting progress stifled because I could have gotten trophy for those games by now. But I think it's important to note that PS Now can't even touch the value of Game Pass. And there's many games that I played on Game Pass that I wish I could have played on the PlayStation for trophies. What's really cool about PlayStation Now, the PlayStation Collection, and PS Plus is that those menus are available, like the games, in the main home screen. You just need to scroll over to access them, and then you scroll down. You don't have to go into an application to see what's there. You can kind of just browse PlayStation Now, browse the PlayStation Collection, browse PlayStation Plus, and browse your library of games that you haven't downloaded to see what games you want to download or what games you want to play. It's very convenient, very clean. Which brings me to storage. There is no expandable storage for the PlayStation 5 right now. Currently, you can only move PlayStation 4 games to an external and then play them on the PS5. But you can't do the same with PS5 games. There is a setting to have PlayStation 4 games always go to extended storage to make it more convenient, but that only works for PlayStation 4 games. Thankfully, I personally delete things after I platinum them. It's a little cathartic, like, yeah, I beat the shit out of you, get out of my home screen. But I think this is more problematic for people that play a lot of multiplayer or ongoing games like Apex Legends or something like that. Or maybe you're the type of person that you play 10 games at a time and you don't have enough room for all 10 games, but you're halfway through one and almost done with another and things like that, so you can't just delete games and make space. What makes navigating this a lot more helpful is that the game library is available directly on the startup screen, and that way I can browse the games that I own that are in my library and download them with ease, and downloading them is of course a lot faster. But once again, if you're the type of person that has a bunch of games, storage is going to definitely be an issue for you. I don't know why they didn't just give us 1 terabyte of space. That would have been nice. Okay, so I did have some performance issues with the PlayStation 5. It crashed several times with Miles Morales, about twice with Maneater, and maybe every 30 minutes to an hour with Cyberpunk 2077, which I'm not sure if that's issues with those specific titles considering it didn't happen with the other titles like Demon's Souls, but maybe it can also be the PlayStation 5. I'm not sure, but the crashing isn't so consistent with every game. In fact, for some games, it's non-existent. And to be clear, it's the Cyberpunk PS4 version because we haven't gotten the PS5 version. Before we end this video, I'd like to talk about what I'm looking forward to on the PlayStation 5. At this moment, I've been chipping away through my backlogs because nothing new has come to the PS5. I've already finished Demon's Souls, Spiderman Miles Morales, Astro's Playroom, Bugsnax. I platinumed all those games. Right now I'm just chipping through my backlog. Once again, I've been playing Nier on my Xbox Series X and Assassin's Creed on my PlayStation 5, and that's pretty much it. But aside from Destruction All-Stars and Demon's Souls and Astro's Playroom, there aren't any games that are fully optimized for the new console. Control, Miles Morales, Bugsnax, they're all available on PS4 or other platforms. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how a game that's only made on the PS5 looks, but the ones coming up that are only being released on the PlayStation 5 are Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and Returnal, and temporarily Deathloop, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to seeing how games like Ratchet & Clank and Returnal use the PS5 technology, and I think especially Ratchet & Clank will use the DualSense features like the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback as effectively as Astro's Playroom used it, because it just seems like that type of game. And it definitely looked like the most new generation game in the PlayStation showcase when the PlayStation 5 was revealed. But we'll see in a few months. As of this recording, we don't have any release dates for God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, but apparently they're coming out in 2021. I doubt both of them are. In fact, I don't want them both to. I'd like to spread it apart a bit. But right now, what we do have to look forward to that has a confirmed release date this year and within the next few months is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, and Deathloop. Alright, so just to summarize and share my final thoughts, the PlayStation 5 UI, controller, convenience factors, and graphical updates feel very new generation. They made a lot of changes which can make navigating the UI feel confusing and take a lot of getting used to. It's kind of like moving from an Apple phone to an Android phone. You have to just get used to it, or vice versa. I think having more customizable options like you have in the control center would help with the convenience more than ever, but 3 months later, I still haven't gotten used to navigating the UI, especially when it comes to shutting down and getting to the game base and my trophies. I feel like there's extra steps than necessary, and I wish that they would give me the option at least to choose where I want things. But despite it being confusing and me not having gotten used to it 3 months later, it's still a cleaner experience and it definitely feels brand new. And that's probably why it's so confusing and difficult to get used to. I think playing 2 generations of a specific looking interface has really done me injustice with the PS5 because this is completely new. And there's a lot to look forward to with the PS5, but we need release dates for them, like for God of War Ragnarok or Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West. And maybe by the time this video is out, they would have announced it at the State of Play because there's one tomorrow as of this recording, so hopefully. But either way, I'm sure even with a release date, some of them will get delayed. But anyway, that's a story for another time. So yeah, let me know your experience with the PS5 if you've gotten it. Let me know if this video has helped you decide if getting a PS5 is worth it for you at this time. Are you gonna wait? Are you really hype after hearing this stuff, or have you been hype and you just really want to get your hands on one, but the scalpers are taking all the PS5s and the production is not coming out as fast as we want it to? Let me know your thoughts, all your thoughts on the PlayStation 5. Please, 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 I really, really want to hear them. If this video helped you, if you enjoyed it at all, even if I made you chuckle a little bit, just please give me a like and a subscription if you want to, no pressure. But more importantly, I just want to hear from you guys to see what you think of the PS5. Because I really like talking about this stuff and I really like hearing other people's experiences. Especially if you have some fixes to some of my issues, that would be great. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.